Jersey Mike's. Be a sub above.
Welcome to another Southern California Prep Insider Baseball podcast. Tommy and Les here. And Les, if you were a starting pitcher right now, based off the fatigue you've experienced throughout last week of tournament games and this week, do you need the bullpen to get the call, or how are you feeling right now?
Oh, man, yeah, I'm probably looking into the dugout right now, giving that indicator to coach and just saying, hey, man, I'm on fumes.
Fastball's not where it is normally, but you're going to power through it. We'll let you start here with your top 10.
Cool. Diving right into the top 10. Notre Dame remains at the top spot. They didn't play last week. They got a huge week this week playing in the Boris Classic. As a team, though, they're hitting .339. They got a 1.64 ERA, so they're just kind of steamrolling opponents. I don't expect that to happen this week at the Boris, although wouldn't be surprised if it did. But yeah, they're at the top spot. Number 2, Huntington Beach. They're also in the Boris Classic. 2 more wins, 13 in a row for them. They're just playing lights out. They still have yet to lose to a team from SoCal. It seems like I've said that now for 3 straight weeks. And so Huntington Beach is just getting it done. La Mirada comes in. Their pitching is insane. I sent you a tweet the other day that had some pitching numbers for their guys. Emilio Morales in 24 innings pitched is a 0.00 ERA. Last I checked, that's pretty good. He's also a darn good catcher, actually committed to USC as a catcher, and swings it pretty well, too. Harvard Westlake comes in at number 4. They had last week off. They are also in the Boris Classic, so our top 4 teams are all in the Boris Classic this year, so we'll see how that shakes out in the rankings next week. Maricosta comes in at number 5. Mustangs, they're just flat out good. Yeah, they lost a game to a good Gahr team that we'll talk about here in a bit. But Maricosta's good. Merrick Baldo, it seems like we keep talking about him every week. He's just really good pitcher, committed to LMU. Servite, happened to see them last night. We had Servite State number 9. They played the state number 5 team in Valley Christian from San Jose. Lost in a tough game, but they're showing some really good pitching depth. When you're trotting out a couple of guys that are in the low 90s, that's a pretty good indication of where you are in terms of depth. The bats seem to have gone cold just a little bit, though, on them, but they're still a really good team. Etiwanda is, guess what, playing in the Boris Classic.
Yep.
They're hitting .351 as a team ERA of 2.38, so that's just a really good team. Next comes Arcadia. They're 12-0. It seems like their biggest challenges are probably behind them until they get into the postseason at this point, but they're just playing really good baseball. Orange Lutheran, a new entry here at number 9. They come in after winning the NHSI in convincing fashion for the 2nd straight year. And guess where they're playing this week? That's right, the Boris Classic. So, we have, I believe it's 6 of our top 10 teams are playing in the Boris Classic this week. So that gives you an indication of the quality of that tournament. And rounding out the top 10, Aliso Niguel. They're just an offensive machine right now. They've smashed I believe they're number 1 in the state with 21 homers, team ERA of 2.83. But man, they're just getting it done at the plate. They're outscoring people. They're not playing those nail biter games, and we'll see how that plays a role as they get back into South Coast League play next week.
Yeah, and another scary thing about our number 1 team, Notre Dame, mostly sophomores, making an impact there. So that's not just this year, but the year after that and the year after that of basically the same kids. So yeah. Might be in a couple years, might be talking about one of the best teams maybe ever. I'm going to sit there right now. We're going to go to players to watch, or players of the week, from last week. I'm going to start with Dos Pueblos' Drew Drake. He was 7 of 13, 7 RBIs in 4 games in the Cougar Classic, which the Chargers won. So congratulations to Dos Pueblos. Loyola's Kevin Parada going to Georgia Tech. He was 5 for 8 last week with a home run, a triple, 2 doubles, and 4 RBIs. La Canada's Connor Buchanan, 8 for 10 last week, 7 RBIs. Maranatha's Dawson Nets committed to Arizona, .28 ERA, 40 strikeouts in his first 4 starts of the season. And Valley Christian's Brett Garcia going to UC Irvine, 11 strikeouts, and then 13 strikeouts in his last 2 starts.
Yeah, all those guys, Nets and the UC Irvine commit are pretty good pitchers. You kind of stuck with pitchers. I'm going to go with some hitters here.
Do it.
Connor Clift from Canyon High School was 5 for 11, 2 doubles, 2 walks, 6 RBIs. He's a junior catcher that's really climbing the eyes of college recruiters. He's really good defensively, and it appears that the bat's beginning to catch up. So it's a good indication for him. Mark Lidd out of Crean Lutheran, 6 for 7, 5 runs, 8 RBIs, 2 homers. He's a senior infielder pitcher. He's off to a really good start for the Saints. I mean, he looks the part, 6'4", 200 pounds. He should have a chance to play collegiately somewhere on some level. And then Cameron Wong out of Redondo Union, 5 for 7, 3 RBIs, 2 runs. Their team is 8-3 overall, coming off 2 huge wins last week, one over Bishop Montgomery and one over Hart. And Redondo Union, they won the CIF title a couple years ago, and that's a program now. We talked about that a few weeks ago, programs versus teams, and that's a program. Can't wait till they do battle against Miracosta. That's going to be a fun game to watch.
All right, speaking of matchups and games, we have our game picks for this week. First one is going to be Oaks Christian at Gahr.
Man, this was a tough one. Gahr's just a scrappy team with a lot of talent. They've played a who's who of teams if you check out their schedule. They got a win over Harvard Westlake and over Miracosta, both teams in our top 10. They should be considered favorites in their league as well. Oaks Christian, also a lot of talent. They seem to be figuring it out under second-year head coach Royce Clayton. They come in having won 4 of the last 5. The game is at Gahr, and I've had a chance to see both teams play this spring. I just like the way Gahr doesn't back down from anyone, so I'm taking the Gladiators here.
I'll agree with you. I'm going to take Gahr as well. Probably one of the toughest schedules so far in the Southern section. If you look at I don't know how much salt you can take into this. Max Preps has them rated as pretty much the hardest schedule. They got Michael Perez going to UCLA, J.J. Cruz going to Fullerton, Morales going to Long Beach State. They got 2 pitchers going to Division I. This is a good team. Played a lot of other good teams. So this, record's not what it should be, but I'm going to go with Gahr in this one. Going to the Don Lugo Tournament is Temescal Canyon playing Diamond Bar.
Temescal Canyon comes in at 9-3-1. They've won 3 of 4. Junior Campbell, McCarvey, and sophomore Caden Zuba lead the way offensively, each hitting over 326. They also bring a team ERA of 138 to the table. That's going to be tested against Diamond Bar because they're pretty aggressive at the plate, led by Alonzo Fuller, who's hitting 400. Defense has been an issue for the Brahmas a bit. Temescal Canyon likes to put the ball in play and is aggressive on the bases, so I'm going to go with Temescal Canyon in this one.
I'm going to agree with you, too. It's going to be both teams' 3rd game in a row after, during the tournament. I'm going to go with Temescal Canyon. Going to Friday, it's Edison at South Torrance.
For the Chargers, it's now or never time for Edison. They've started 0-5 in league play after starting the season with some pretty good wins. They can't afford to lose many more games if they hope to have a chance at the postseason. South comes in having made it to the championship of their division in the Lions tournament down in San Diego before falling to a pretty good San Pasqual team. Before that game, their only loss was a 1-0 defeat in 12 innings. They've got a ridiculous team ERA of .71 and led by senior Kevin Ishimura, who's 2-0 with a .43 ERA. This is a step up in competition, but I like the Spartans coming in this one.
I'm going to go with Edison. I think tough league schedule. I know. Records aren't what they appear to be in baseball. I'm just going to go with Edison here. Go with Edison.
Also on Friday, it's Redlands East Valley versus Yucaipa.
Yeah, Yucaipa comes in rolling, and their hitting and pitching is spectacular this season. Team ERA of 1.81. The Thunderbirds are getting an incredible junior season from BYU commit Tyson Heaton. He's 4-0, .28 ERA in 25 innings. He's a guy that will be on MLB draft boards beginning next year. The offense is paced by 3 juniors, Anthony Gibbons, Joseph Lomelli, and Michael Carpentier. Gibbons is hitting .435. Rev comes in winners of 4 of 5 and appear to be clicking. They too are getting some great pitching. Dylan Fashionpour and Cameron Kundig leading the way. These sorts of games, when it's almost a toss-up, it's almost too close to call, I generally go with the home team, so I'm going to go with Yucaipa. Keep in mind, though, these guys are playing. This will be their 2nd game against each other this week.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Yucaipa, too. Rev, another kid I want to mention for them, Christian Kirtley is going to go to Santa Barbara, the shortstop, great player there for Redlands East Valley. Final game, it's Saturday. It's Laguna Beach at Santa Margarita.
Laguna Beach saw their 9-game win streak come to an end yesterday against Roosevelt in the Ryan Lemon tournament, and then they play a tough El Medina team today before this matchup against Santa Margarita. They got 4 players hitting over 429, which is just crazy, right? Michael Kerner is hitting 485. Defense has been a little suspect. They got 31 team errors. The pitching has been good, not great. For Santa Margarita, they took some lumps early, but they appear to be heading in the right direction. Their first-year head coach, Chris Malik, they've won 4 of 5. Laguna Beach does catch a break in the sense that they won't face Chandler Champlain, who was an MLB draft prospect this year. So that's good news. The bad news is that they're going to face Alex Schreier, who's just been nails for Santa Margarita in recent starts. Also, Milan Tolentino, is a future star for Santa Margarita, and they're at home, so I'm going to go with the Eagles in this one.
I'm going to go Laguna Beach. Grady Morgan for them also. 4 home runs already on this season. So, again, I don't think, and then you talk about some of the pitching for Laguna, they're not going to have their best guy out there probably on a Saturday, but neither will Santa Margarita. So we will see what happens there. I'm expecting a lot of runs in that game. Les, anything else you want to add?
No, just check out our coverage of both the National Classic and the Boris Classic. You can check us out on PrepBaseballReport.com. Find us on Twitter at PBR_California.
Actually, I want to ask you one follow-up question regarding Boris Classic. It's a rare single elimination type thing.
Yeah.
In baseball, does that work for you or not?
Well, unfortunately, the state of California, that's how the playoffs are set up. And so I think our teams are used to it. You go out of state, you go to Texas, you go to Georgia, you go to Florida, and these playoffs are 2 out of 3. And I believe in Georgia, they're 3 out of 5 at the championship level. It looks like CIF might be headed in that direction. A lot of coaches telling me that that's what they believe just because they moved the season up a couple weeks in the southern section. They believe that a state championship is coming, which will be progress, right? So we'll get an actual defined state champion as awarded by CIF. But in terms of the single elimination, these tournaments are brutal, right? 4 games in 4 days. Not a lot of teams, especially, no knock, but especially the public schools, just don't seem to have the depth, whereas you get a team like, Orange Lutheran that has 6 Division I pitchers committed. They've got the depth where they can handle it, and it showed last week out at the NHSI. So a lot of these teams, especially the private schools, are built for this sort of competition. And I think that's the separator, right, is having that pitching depth. Because a school like, South Hills, for example, they have Brandon Dieter, who's an MLB draft prospect this year. He'll get the start today. But after that, you've got some guys that have not ever pitched in a big game like this. And so that'll take its toll. And their depth come the 3rd or the 4th day is going to be exposed.
And it's also tough on guys like you. Don't sell yourself short. You're the one who struggles most with these. I think you have the marathon of all marathons the last couple of weeks. That is it for our podcast this week. We'll be back next week. And I promise scoreboard. It's going to be up. I'm going to put the scoreboard up at the end. It's coming up right now. Here it is. We'll see you next week.